He's counting you among those that are left standing. And I want to be left standing in this moment. Somebody sold out to Jesus that God can count and take note of. Verse 19. So he departed thence, after God had spoken to him and said, there's 7,000. He found one that was outstanding. When you're depressed, you don't find much that's outstanding. It's after you get a revelation. It's after God tells you you're wrong and that he's right that God shows you something. And it was no mere coincidence that he found Elisha. He found Elisha because he found God. And if you don't find God, you'll find the hypocrites. If you don't find God, you'll find those that are liars. You'll find those that are carnal. You'll find those that are discouraging. Listen, if you don't find God, you're going to find the things that bring decay. Because the devil will lead you right alongside of people who have a form of godliness that deny his power. And you'll find them every time because you're being directed by the enemy. I know people who are having a hard time spiritually. Wherever they go, they end up with garbage. Why? Because the devil's leading them. You don't find Elisha with the devil leading you. The only way you find Elisha is because God is leading you. And I find people led by the devil, and they get some real humdingers. Look what the Lord blessed me with. Slippery John. I asked him for somebody. Here's what I got. That wasn't God who gave you John. Before it's over with, you're going to get a dear John. No. When God leads you, he leads you into all truth. And he leads you into all blessing. And the reason people get burnt is because they're not leaning upon God for direction. And so they don't get guided into blessing, but they get directed into curse. But when Elijah comes to God's mountain, and God works in his life, begins to deal with him in a still small voice, tells him that he's wrong and gives him a revelation that he's not standing the last martyr, but he's standing among 7,000 who also have not bowed to Baal. Then God said, I'm going to show you some of the people I've got. So God took him over to see Elisha in a tent revival. No. He wasn't even practicing a message. He was practicing a life. And what was he doing? He was doing something outstanding. He was plowing when most people plowed with a yoke of oxen. He was plowing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 yoke of oxen. And you couldn't hardly get that many in a row in this room. He was doing something in a big way. And God said, Elijah, this is going to be your replacement. A man who's got a big spirit. A man who's got a big heart. A man who can be taught by God. A man who has something inside, who expects to see something tremendous happen. Can you picture the plow that must have been behind those 12 yoke of oxen? It must have been turning a furrow like never have been turned before. And God said, Elijah, here's the man that's going to replace you. Here's the man who's going to be an apprentice. Because I am God. When you think you stand by yourself, there's 7,000. You've missed it that much. And one of them is Elisha. And the same spirit that is upon you, a double portion will be upon him. And he shall go forth in my power, and he shall go forth in my glory. For my spirit that is upon thee shall not be upon thee only, but the word that shall go forth shall not return void, but it shall accomplish what it's sent forth to do, and it's meant to fill the lives of many. Stand with me in the service. You may not know what to do tonight, but you already know what not to do. You already know that you don't belong in the devil's camp. Playing the devil's games, listening to the devil's music, drinking the devil's drink, conversing with the devil's language. You've been bought with a price, and you know now that already, if nothing else is your knowledge, you know that you're not to bow your knees to Baal. You're not to kiss him. You know that Jesus is Lord. You know that if you know nothing else. You'll learn a lot. He'll lead and guide and direct you. You'll find that he'll lead you in a path so marvelous and so wonderful. And you don't know one step of it today. You have to accept that God is in control. But there's 7,000 who have not bowed their knees to Baal. And every time you feel like you're alone, and you think that God's gone out of business, and that people are not sincere, I want you to know today that God is moving by his Spirit. He's moving in the earth. And he knows those that are his, and he's counting them. And if you're sincere today and accepted Jesus as Lord of your life, you're numbered among them. I'm going to speak to you today that you've believed a lie and you know better. There's no way that you can play games with God and win. Every demon power of hell will make a prisoner out of you. Everything will conspire to bring you into bondage. You'll know the truth. It's the truth that'll set you free. Don't you play with the world. Cut yourself off from Baal and yield to God with your whole heart. And some of you that have been trying to live on both sides of the situation, God's speaking to you tonight. I want you to leave your seat in the place you're standing. I want you to come tonight and say, I'm going to break with the devil's crowd. I'm going to break with what the devil does. I'm going to give up the power of the enemy. I'm going to turn to God with my whole heart. I'm going to yield to you, God. I'm going to make that decision tonight. There's much that we don't know. But there's something that we all know. I'm not to be impressed with the world's crowd. My thrills do not come from darkness. I've tasted and seen the Lord is good. And the life that I live is the life of the Son of God. And my victory depends on my breaking with Baal. I'm not called to bow my knees to him. I'm not called to kiss him. I've anchored my soul in the haven of rest. The world may think I'm a fanatic. Some people will shake their head with wonder and caution me about being wrapped up beyond what's healthy. But I know this, that out of my innermost being there'll flow rivers of living water when I've submitted wholly and completely to God, when I've turned to Christ. God bless you that are here. There's others that God is speaking to. I just know that. You can kid yourself, make yourself believe that you can be careless in your life, but you can't afford it. You're not that strong. The safety that comes is the safety of knowing that you don't bow your knees to Baal. That you've made that decision, made it clear and made it plain. I'm not going to yield to the power of the enemy. You've got to make that decision. You've got to make that decision tonight. Some of the people that need to come the most are...
changes things. No one believes this more than Pastor George Bull.